Udila yaruna purava bhage, Vijamani gaura yamani jage. Udila yaruna purava bhage, Vijamani gaura yamani jage. Bhakata samuha loiya sate, Gela nagara braje. Tathai bajalo kol gana gana tahe janjera ro. Tathai bajalo kol gana gana tahe janjera ro. Preme dala dala shonara yanga charane nupura baje. Preme dala dala shonara Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari, Bole na bolo re vada na bori. Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari, Bole na bolo re vada na bori. Micheni dava shegelo re rati, divasha sharira saje. Micheni dava shegelo re rati, divasha sharira saje. Emono dulabha manava deha, kaya ki koro bhavana keho. Emono dulabha manava deha, kaya ki koro bhavana keho. Ebe na bajile jasoda suta, charame pori belaje. Ebe na bajile jasoda suta, charame pori belaje. Yudita tapana hoile asta, vinogelo boli hoibe vyasta. Yudita tapana hoile asta, vinogelo boli hoibe vyasta. Tabe keno ebe ala sahoy, nabajari doya raje. Tabe keno ebe ala sahoy, nabajari doya raje. Jivanaya nita jana hasan, tahe nana vidha vipada ba. Namaskar kari jatane tumi, taka hoy apana kaje. Namaskar kari jatane tumi, taka apana kaje. Jivaya kalyana sadhana kan, jagate asiye moduyana. Jivaya kalyana sadhana kan, jagate asiye madhurana. O vidyati mira tapana rupe, ridga gane viraje. Vidyati mira tapana rupe, ridga gane viraje. Krishna nam shudha kori apan, jurao bhakti vinoda pran. Krishna nam shudha kori apan, jurao bhakti vinoda pran. Nam bina kichu nahi koyaro, chauda bhuvana maje. Nam bina kichu nahi koyaro, chauda bhuvana maje. Jeev jago jeev कोथा निद्रा जाओ माया पिशाची रखो जीव बोलिया ऐसे संसार बिछोरे जीव बोलिया ऐसे संसार बिछोरे भूलिया रोहिले तुमी अविद्या रबो তোমার লইতে আমি হইনু অবতারা আমি বিন বন্ধু হার কে আছে তোমার Shodi Maya Nashi Baralagi Shodi Maya Nashi Baralagi Hari Nama Maha Bhakti Vinoda Prabhu Charan Poriya Bhakti Vinoda Prabhu Charan Poriya Say Hari Nama Mantra Loilo Magiya Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Udila yaruna purava bhage Dvijamani gaura yamani jage Udila yaruna purava bhage Dvijamani gaura yamani jage Bhakata samuha loiya sate Gela nagara braje Tathai bajalo kol gana gana tahe jajera ro Tathai bajalo kol gana gana tahe jajera ro Preme dala dala shonara yanga charane nupura bhaje Preme dala dala shonara Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari Bole na bolo re vada na bori Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari Bole na bolo re vada na bori میچنیدم باشه گلار راتی دیواشا شاری ساجه میچنیدم باشه گلار راتی دیواشا شاری ساجه ایمانا دولا با منو و دهو پایا کی کارو بھاونا کے ہو بناباجیل جاسود سوتا چرم پوری بلاجه بناباجیل جاسود سوتا چرم پوری بلاجه یودیتا تاپن هویل آستا گینو گلو بولی هوی ببیاستا یودیتا تاپن هویل که نوی به الله ساهای نباجری دایا راجه که نوی به الله ساهای نباجری دایا راجه جیوانایانی تا جانا حسن تهینانا بیدها بیپادا با نامشای کاری جاتان تومی تاکه های اپن نکاجه نامشای کاری جاتان تومی تاکه اپن نکاجه جیوه کالیان سادان کام جگت آسیه مدویانا Timira tapan rupe ridga gan viraje Timira tapan rupe ridga gan viraje Krishna nam shudha kori apan jurao bhakti binoda pran Krishna nam shudha kori apan नाम बिना किछु नाही को यारो चौदह भुवन माजे नाम बिना किछु नाही को यारो चौदह भुवन माजे जीव जागो गौरा चंद्र बोले जीव जागो কোথা নিদ্রা যাও মায়া পিসাচির কোলে কোথা নিদ্রা যাও মায়া পিসাচির কোলে বাজিব বলিয়া এসে সংসার ভিতরে দিলে তুমি অবিদ্যার ভরে তোমার লইতে আমি হইনু অবতার আমি বিন বন্ধু হার কে আছে তোমার sei Hari Nama mantra loilo magiya. Sei Hari Nama mantra loilo magiya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Lao tumi magi. Hare Rama, Lao tumi magi. Bhakti Vinoda Prabhu Charane Poriya. Bhakti Vinoda Prabhu Charane Poriya. Sei Hari Nama mantra loilo magiya. Sei Hari Nama mantra loilo magiya. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sai. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava सदस्यमान भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद से अद्वैत गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गो गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिवर्धन की जय। वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवद्वीप धाम की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। स्वामी तो भक्तवृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled Lord. All glories to the assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I'm Lobesan says, you are welcome.
Thank you, Krishna, my good friend.
Your video is off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Yes, now we can see you. You're welcome, Maharaj. The verse
Thank you.
is on, because today is Prabhupada appearance day, but the verse is a short verse. Maybe you can switch over after the Bhagavatam to Prabhupada Lila.
Okay.
So we are putting the verse on the screen. So you do what you want. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya. Naram Cheva Narottama. Devin Saraswati Vyasa. Tato Jai Moderate. Nasta Payesu Padresu Nityam Bhagavata Seva. Bhagavati Uttama Sloke. Bhakti Bhava Itinayasti. Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhuta Lese Mate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Itinam. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sonyavadi Pasatya. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadara Siva Sarasi Gaura Bhakti. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Vanchakalpatari Gacha Kripa Sundhya Evita Bhavani Vaishnavi. So I very much appreciate the efforts of the organizers of this forum. It looks like it's an easy job, but it's not an easy job, man. If we are not able to appreciate what you are doing properly, if you are not able to appreciate properly, understand that the Guru Parampara and Krishna, they very much will continue to bless you, the organizers and proponents of this very social media preaching. It's amazing how we experience so many things on the planet, but sometimes it's difficult for us to really appreciate what we have. So the devotees in Africa, especially the West Africa I know of, where there is that heavy local preaching setting, right from the beginning, and now the region, you have your gurus, you have your GBCs, all local people. So this is very interesting for anyone who comes to be able to visit West Africa in the future. And especially Prabhupada is very pleased with the preachers, the current preachers, Kavichandra Swami Maharaj, Srivas Vanachaya, Bhakti Damodara Swami Maharaj, Bhakti Charudeshna Swami Maharaj, Ganga Prasad Prabhu, and a host of all the local leaders there who are piloting the preaching program. So it looks like the lockdown is a bad thing, but it's a good thing for us because we are able to come together through the internet. So today, like the host has mentioned, with today's appearance of Prabhupada, disappearance of Srila Prabhupada, the founder chair of ISKCON, and here in Vrindavan, temple, the temple is really packed full with so many people. And we have to read the verse, and then we can, say something afterwards about Prabhupada. So today's text is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 1. Sutta Ovacha Atatam Sukam Asina Upasina Brihatshruva Devashi Praha Vipachin Vina Pani Smayaniva. Word for word translation and synonyms, word for word translation, and translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sutta, Ovacha said, Atta, therefore, tam, him, Sukam asinaha, comfortably seated, Upasinam, onto one sitting nearby, Brihat Shravaha, greatly respected, Devashi, the great Rishi among the gods, Praha said, Viparshi, unto the Rishi among the Brahmanas, Vina Pani, one who carries a vina in his hand, Smayan Eva, apparently smiling. Translation. Sutta Goswami said, does the sage among the gods, Narada, comfortably seated and apparently smiling, addressed the Rishi amongst the Brahmanas, Vedavyas. Purport. Narada was smiling because he well knew the great sage Vedavyas, and the cause of his disappointment, as he will explain gradually, Vyasadev's disappointment was due to insufficiency in presenting the science of devotional service. Narada knew the defect, and it was confounded by the position of Vyasa. Om Gyana Tamiranda Sera Gyana Jana Salakaya Saksora Malitam Jena Tasmai Si Gurave Namaha Suchaitanya Manovitam Sthapitam Yena Bhuta Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Badati Swa Padantika Vandasi Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahadito Buddhaya Puspavantu Chita Chandu Tamam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Si Advaita Gadararo Siva Sadi Sagora Bhakti Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare. So, this very chapter is a subset of Nada and Srila Vyasadev's interaction, or their leader. So we have had in the last verses of the previous chapter how, although Vyasadeva had done such a marvelous job, he had compiled the Vedic literature, but at the same time, he was not happy. So, Nada knew why Srila Vyasadeva was feeling disappointed, why the emotional gap in Srila Vyasadeva's life, in his literary exposition of the Vedic literature, why the gap? He should be happy, he should be jubilating, like, wow, I've done such a wonderful service. But he wasn't. So Nada will explain in detail and in a dialogue with Vyasadeva what actually went wrong. So I was told that I should just read the text and discuss something about Srila Prabhupada. So I'm a second generation guy, like most of you. So this type of discussion is actually best for someone who's met Prabhupada, who interacted with Prabhupada, who's received some, direct instructions from Prabhupada, who has interacted with him and has imbibed that spiritual addiction of devotional culture. But I was asked to do it, so I have to do it as a service. Yeah, it's an interesting scenario, because I was just reflecting about how Prabhupada he founded spiritual organizations, devotee league in Jhansi, and that was not very productive. It didn't meet his yearnings, and so he decided to prosecute the order of his spiritual master, go to the West, and spread Krishna consciousness to the English-speaking people, to the Westerners. And that is a big challenge, because even that instruction, Prabhupada had to wait for over a decade before he really he was able to execute it. But the important thing is that his spiritual master gave him an instruction. And in those days, sadhus, Indian sadhus, they don't even cross the ocean, because of fear of Maya. And Bhaktisiddhanta had sent some disciple to UK to try to establish Krishna consciousness, but it didn't yield definitive fruitive results. So he asked him Prabhupada, giving Prabhupada instruction to go to the West, and Prabhupada had to do this when he started prosecuting that instruction when he was 69. So it's not a joke. 69 years old, almost 70, to go and start an exploration, establish an international organization that will serve the needs, the spiritual needs of humanity. That's not a joke. But he did it. And one of those things when Prabhupada was in New York, he experienced challenges. Besides being almost killed by some deadly disease about the Jaladuta, heart attacks. So, yeah, Prabhupada was very successful subsequently, but when we look at the early start of his project, we understand that to become successful, it's not a joke. One has to put in his endeavor and be prayerful all the time, depending on his spiritual master and Krishna. I remember one poem that Prabhupada compiled when he was aboard the Jaladuta and praying to Krishna to help him to be able to use him as an instrument in transforming the Americans. One of those texts, I think I recited that text that during the Radhastami, but I like to recite it again because, today is Prabhupada's appearance and this is part of his literary work. So he said, Krishna taba punya habe bai, e punya koribe jabi radharani kusihabi, druva ati bole tu maitai. And what he meant was that he said, brothers, except you please Radharani, except we please Radharani, attaining Krishna is impossible. And so those who are sincerely in love with Krishna, they are ardent worshippers of Srimati Radharani. And so like in Vrindavan, people don't greet each other with anything else rather than Radhe Radhe, Radhe. Even that is the honking of the motorists, the Okada people. That's their honking. Radhe Radhe, Radhe Radhe. So that text leaves behind a lot of a deep contemplation as to how we should be in a mood of trying to worship Radharani, trying to please Radharani, and we don't know Radharani. How do you please someone whom you don't know? You don't see her. Where are you going to get her? So, Radharani is the mother of devotion, but Prabhupada's emphasis in that very early poem was that we cannot attain Krishna without pleasing Radharani. In other words, we cannot attain Krishna without pleasing the spiritual master. And Prabhupada himself is an embodiment of devotion to Radharani. And he got that very positive impact from his father. As a child, he woke up from bed and would see, in the morning, I would see his father, doing arti to Radha and Krishna. A number of us who came to Krishna consciousness, we didn't have that opportunity. We were just attracted to the teachings and then, begin to cultivate Krishna consciousness. But an essential point that Prabhupada emphasized here in this text is executing the order of the spiritual master, pleasing the spiritual master. Because we may do so much amazing service. The question is the spiritual master pleased with his service? If the spiritual master is pleased, basically, you rest assured of success. The other point regarding the text is that, regarding the instructions from Bhaktisiddhanta Srila Prabhupada, is like, asking Prabhupada to do a very difficult task. I had a story from one of Prabhupada's disciples in Washington, D.C. some years ago, how when Prabhupada was a Grihastha, reversing back. When Prabhupada was a Grihastha in the Gaudiya mat, so he went to the mat one day, and there were all these powerful brahmacharis and sannyasis who live in the temple. He was a Grihastha. And one of these devotees, I can't remember what I think it was a brahmachari, he was reading something, or he had read something about the predictions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur that this Krishna consciousness will be spread in all towns and villages. So this devotee, he was vocalizing that, but how is this going to be possible? And Prabhupada heard him. And Prabhupada jumped on him and said, if you can't do it, someone will do it. So, that story is really like, it's something to imbibe that type of energy of doubt and to dispel that doubt with a higher understanding that Krishna can empower anyone to do it. There might be a statement in the Shastra on which we may have some doubt. How is it going to happen? So, Prabhupada had a conviction, had a full-fledged conviction in the works, on the words of the previous acharyas. So we could say he was just a householder, challenging a Gaudiya mat brahmachari, huge, powerful preacher. You cannot do it. If you cannot do it, someone else will do it. And it was Prabhupada who had to do it. It was Prabhupada who did it. So, when it came to America, things were not that easy. Things were never easy for Prabhupada. Even to raise money to go to America to execute the order of his spiritual master, it wasn't that easy. If it was that easy, he wouldn't have boarded a Jaladuta. He wouldn't have boarded a steamship. So how many of us will make that type of sacrifice to have board a steamship that you will stay aboard on the ocean for such a long time? So we should see how our founder Acharya, what type of efforts he had put in establishing this movement, what type of courage he had, and the empowerment that Krishna and Bhaktisiddhanta bestowed on him. I have a conviction that whenever hard, difficult instructions are given to a devotee, Krishna or the spiritual master also encapsulate in that instruction is encapsulated with empowerment. It's up to the devotee to be able to understand that he or she is being used as an instrument, just like Prabhupada did. He was just being used as an instrument. He had full conviction that this is the order of Bhaktisiddhanta. He has to execute it. He will just be used as an instrument, and he was used as an instrument to execute it. And that is how all of us have come to this Krishna consciousness. Conviction in the words, and instructions of the Acharya. And when Prabhupada started preaching in New York, I've been, that very first temple, 26 Second Avenue, that's the place that actually I attend programs in New York most of the time. So when he was there, I'm preaching, and he has to deal with all of these hippies and potheads and whatever, drug addicts. Sometimes, I remember the case of one of those devotees to join him, but he was like a drug addict. But you know what? Prabhupada transformed him to be a great scholar who translated some of the works of the previous Acharya. Sometimes Prabhupada will go in, we'll start to go into the storefront, and then there are some, hippies who are lying on the floor, drowsing. And he had to meander. That is his own temple. I mean, imagine you're a president of one temple, and then you are coming into the temple, and you have some drunkard just lie down and cross the road. But Papa will not touch him. He will meander like this, and then pass through, and then pass this way, and then go to the asana, and then go to give the class. See that loving, that universal loving energy that he had for people who didn't know, and for someone, or for some people who are in most cases, like, a source of dehydration of his energy, or dehydrating his energy. But no, he didn't look at it in that way. That one of those devotees is Kusakrata. He's late now, but that was the type of experience that Prabhupada was exposed to. He didn't just tolerate those devotees, he loved them. There's a difference between tolerating someone and loving someone. He loved them based on spiritual principle. He was an embodiment of Mama Evam So Jiva Loka Jiva Bhutta Sanatana. He was a living scripture. He lived that very text of the Gita, that everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. In other words, we are all Christian family, and he treated everyone who encountered him as part of that Krishna's big family. So he loved them. The love was not based on, some external value. It was based on spiritual principle. And even in the 26 Second Avenue, the way he treated his guests and visitors. He will, after class, he will have an apple, and Papa will slice the apple and, divide it, give it to everybody. He was so much serviceable to those devotees that even some hippies, they will come, they will buy something and go, like, I remember in one case, Prabhupada was giving a class, and this hippie, he brought in a toilet tissue, and then he went to drop it in the toilet room. And then he left and went out. Because of the way Prabhupada was serving them, they begin to become aware that service is an essential factor, essential ingredient in this type of relationship. Because look at this old elderly person, he is serving us. What am I going to do to him to reciprocate? And American culture is like that. You don't go and give someone something 1 day, 2 days. The third day he will ask you, what can I do for you? In some cultures, when you give someone something 1 day, 2 days, the third day you don't give, why are you not doing it again? So the energy that irradiated on those early followers made them to surrender their lives. If you hear some of the stories from these early disciples of Srila Prabhupada, America is so cold. During the winter, it snows. In the East Coast, it snows. In Alaska, it's like a no-go area. In the Michigan area, it's like a no-go area. But these devotees will go out to support books on that, whether snow or rain, because they perceive the love Prabhupada had for them. They sacrificed their lives for Prabhupada. So Prabhupada taught us by his own personal examples. And even in 26th Avenue, when he was giving classes, Bhagavad Gita classes in the evenings, he never one day speak about no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, no this. No. Because he knew the culture, that these are the norms. He never spoke against that any day. And so when the first initiation was scheduled, someone asked, so we're going to take initiation, so what's the obligation? What are we supposed to do? What is the implication? That was the very day Prabhupada told them how many rounds they have to chant and what type of principles they have to follow. But before then, the loving relationship has, gotten to a very high degree. When you love someone so deeply, before you come to understand some things that they don't do or they don't like, it's too late. You cannot, estrange yourself. The love is you're already locked in into that loving website. You're logged in. So that is one endearing strategy or tactics, a preaching tactics that Prabhupada used. He never confront people with the rules of devotional service. He never confronted his disciples or his followers with the rules of devotional service. So that practical situation was there on 26th Avenue. That when they were to take initiation, Then someone asks, what do we do? What is our duty? And then he went ahead to explain to them how many rounds they should chant. First he said 64 rounds, then some people raise objection. And then he said 32 rounds of japa, and some people still raise objection. And Baba said 16 minimum. So he was very considerate about the environmental situations. Prabhupada is an acharya that really was concerned about Desikalapatra. Place, time, and circumstance. Place, time, and circumstance. So he gave that standard, and that was embraced by the devotees, and went ahead to give them the initiation. So there are a number of things that we can learn from Prabhupada's very life, even apart from the devotional cultivation, devotional love he infused in his followers. Here we can I think about Prabhupada as a global leader. You know, in the management science, when you talk about global leadership, that is a really big thing. But Prabhupada was a global leader. He established an international organization where he personally had to run it, he had to manage it, he had to lead it. Now, there's a difference between managing an organization and leading an organization. They are completely two different things. They're two different things completely, of being a leader and being a manager. But Prabhupada was the manager, he was the leader. So, we have a legacy that we will not be able to catch up. Yeah, it's difficult to catch up with that legacy because these days you find that people have to go to, I have a PhD in management and leadership, but I cannot call myself a leader because that is so much to do with leadership. You can even have a PhD in management, but you may not be a manager. You can have a PhD in leadership, but you may not be a leader. It's a complete different story. But Prabhupada gives a hint about how we could go about motivating, inspiring the devotees in our communities by his personal example. These days, we find that ISKCON is making some efforts in terms of devotee care. And one Prabhupada disciple, he told me a story how when Prabhupada was so sick in Mayapur, he was just so sick in Mayapur. And then one Western devotee, he had that devotee was sick, and he completely abandoned his own health challenges and will give orders, you do like this, you take him to this place, you call for the doctor, you do it. He completely abandoned his own welfare. In other words, a real leader, a spiritual leader for that matter, is that personality who wants to serve the needs of his constituency before his own needs. So if we think about that, we are far from leadership. But that was a practical example that Prabhupada said by dint of his own loving relationship with his disciples. Because if the disciple sees that the Guru loves him or her so much, they're ready to die for the disciple. They're ready to die for the Guru. They'll do anything if it even is their life. So Prabhupada wanted us to learn a lot of things from his own personal life. That's why he's in a chariot. Prabhupada loves any effort that someone makes. Preaching was his watchword. Preaching was his business. So, and he would do anything. He would do anything to be able to advance Lord Chaitanya's preaching. Otherwise, look, how could somebody 70 years old or 69 set out from India to go to another continent? You don't know anybody for a preaching mission. And even some of his well-wishers advise him in India not to go. That he will die. He will die on his steamship. Or he will die there. He will not come back. But he defied. He had imbibed that conviction of executing the order of his spiritual master. So, in that sense, we should also learn from Prabhupada. We should intensify our loving relationship with our spiritual master by following instructions given to us so that we can be blessed to become successful. Because when the spiritual master is pleased, Yasa Prasadam, Bhagavad Prasadam, Yasa Prasadam, Nangati Kutopi. When the spiritual master is pleased, or when Krishna is pleased, then when we please the spiritual master, or when we please Krishna, then spiritual master is pleased. But how do we really please the spiritual master or please Krishna? By preaching. So we should ask ourselves, what have I done for Srila Prabhupada? He sacrificed his life for me. Without Prabhupada sacrificing his life to go to the West, we wouldn't be exposed to Krishna consciousness. This was a culture that was circumscribed in India. These were teachings that were circumscribed in India. So we are debtors to Prabhupada. Prabhupada, he loved Ratha Yatra. He loved festivals. And so, like, if even he was ill, at some point in time, even he was ill, he wanted to participate. He went ahead to participate in Ratha Yatra. I don't know whether that was in San Francisco or in New York. And not to speak of his marvelous, his great achievements, his accomplishments in expanding the works of the previous acharyas. Not just teaching people Krishna consciousness, but he expanded the works of the previous acharyas too. He wanted everyone in this organization to be eligible to go back to God. The only criterion is that be in this movement and do some service and follow a prescribed sadhana. And you'll be guaranteed. So again, it boils down to the modern Krishna consciousness devotees to be able to appreciate. If we appreciate what someone has done to us, we will not like to do something that he doesn't like. So preaching is the essence. Purity, according to Prabhupada, is the force. These were his slogans. And we can also, on our part, try to see that we're doing something to please Srila Prabhupada. We're doing something to please his disciples. And keep in mind, anyone who had ever encountered Prabhupada is not a common person. So, because he had injected that spiritual love in anyone that encountered him. And that's why that empowerment has been passed down, and that's why the Krishna consciousness movement has been sustainable. Although he's left the planet, physically speaking, but his teachings, the spreading of the Krishna consciousness movement is still being perpetuated. So, I, for one, I cannot express my indebtedness to Srila Prabhupada, because at the time in my life that I was very confused about what is going on. I encountered a devotee, an ISKCON devotee, who was distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. I bought 2 books. I read those books. I spent the whole night reading the 2 small books. And all of my confusion about life, I got the answers. So just by encountering Prabhupada, or his books, or his devotees, we can have a lot to be able to tell about our personal transformation. Before I go, I want to tell you I want to relate a story to you. This story happened in Africa, in Nigeria precisely. There was one devotee, he's late, his name is Advaita Acharya. Advaita Acharya mentioned to me about somebody he was cultivating. And how did this person came to the temple? This person was a hunter. And he went to hunt one day. He was trying to shoot. I don't know whether I can't remember. I told this story a long time. I mean, about 15 years ago. I can't remember the other details. But this hunter, he was trying to shoot whether a bird or an animal, and he had a voice. Don't shoot. And then he stopped. In a dream, this person who told him not to shoot appeared to him and told him, you should go to the nearest Hare Krishna temple. That was right there in Nigeria. And so this person doesn't know anything about Hare Krishna. And so he started tracing, he started trying to find out. And then somehow or the other, he was lucky. He encountered someone who knew about the Hare Krishnas. So they directed him to the temple. So the first time he entered the temple, he saw the Murti of Prabhupada. And he said, this is the person who spoke to me in the dream. This is the person who spoke to me in the dream. Yes, so although Prabhupada did not, or this person did not physically meet Prabhupada, he had the message of Prabhupada. Although Prabhupada physically is not there, but Prabhupada is living with us. He's still continuing with his preaching. And we can just become instruments in the hands of Prabhupada in spreading the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Prabhupada was a spiritual warrior of proved courage. Proved courage in the sense that he established so many temples all over the world and preached all over the world. He traveled all over the world and transformed lives on personal and community scale. And so today we should be reflecting and begging Prabhupada to be empowered, to be used in spreading his teachings. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for your wonderful class. I have one small question from the paper of today. Maybe I put it on the screen.
Yes.
It's a funny question, but I will ask it.
Please.
In the paper.
Question.
Yeah, the question is for your wonderful class. The question is, can you hear me? Small question.
Yes, I'm hearing.
Report of today. I put it in blue, where Prabhupada said Nada was smiling because he knew the great sage Vasudeva because of disappointment. But I will ask it.
Please.
So my question is, when Vasudeva, we Nada knew the reason of Vasudeva's disappointment, and in the course of your lecture, you mentioned that Prabhupada, somebody brought toilet tissue in 22nd Avenue in New York. Prabhupada was also smiling, he didn't chastise. So my question is, we see in our days of devotional service, people who are supposed to be our authorities, when they also well know our disappointments, they don't smile, they chastise, and they deal with us. So why are they not following this Narada Muni and Prabhupada smiling, knowing our own disappointments as a neophyte devotees? Why are they very hard?
It's a nice question. Govinda Swami Maharaj mentioned that, the late Govinda Swami Maharaj, he mentioned during the question and answer section, he mentioned that we have to be careful how we deal with devotees, because if a devotee feels hurt, we get some repercussions. It doesn't matter whether one is a Paramahamsa. If you hurt an ant, you get some repercussions. And a typical example is the a case of Subari Muni. Subari Muni, there was this. Subari Muni was in the bed of the ocean meditating, and another entity, Garuda, comes there to pick some fish, and he threatened Garuda that if he comes back, there again, he will, make him feel disappointed, or make him feel bad, or do something to protect the fishes. So that's like something minor, so to say, but a devotee is somebody that we should be careful the way we deal with. When in the initial stage of our devotional life, our lives are just full of offenses, especially when we are given some position. instead of using the position to elevate other people, we use the position as a chance for vengeance or for trying to put people on the spot or put them create an uncomfortable situation. But then the point is that we get repercussions for those things. And so your question is, why aren't the modern leaders, modern rulers of our society not live up to the standard that Narada Muni said and Prabhupada said? Prabhupada also did chastise people, but it didn't chastise people based on trying to bring them down. A spiritual master has the right to chastise a disciple, but according to Govinda Swami Maharaj, if someone is not your disciple, you have to be careful the way you met out your words in terms of chastisement, because you're not in a position to do that. So then the question is, then how do we balance the scale in terms of managing the community and trying to rectify situations or rectify devotees of their misdemeanors or of their disappointments? Ideally, when we feel someone is disappointed, we could approach that person. First of all, as a friend, we should deal with that person in a loving way, but at the same time, based on standard. So I'll give you an example. Say, if someone does something funny, we could call them up. First, we could call them up privately and speak to them the way we will speak to our beloved younger sibling. In other words, see, I went to Canada some couple of years ago, and in Montreal there was this young brahmachari who was from Toronto. He was traveling. He was leading a group of brahmacharis traveling Harinam and Sankirtan party. So he had approached me to ask that, Maharaj, how best can I help these devotees who are in my team? I said, oh, it's a very simple thing. Treat them the way you would treat your beloved sibling, your beloved younger brother. But Kusa, you know what? His response? He said, Maharaj, that's very difficult. I said, but we have been talking about we are all Krishna's part and parcels. We are one family. So why don't we put that into practice? So we need to have a shift in our paradigm. We need to have a shift in our consciousness. We need to have, a transfer. We need to embark on self-transformation, because this has been one of the things that has been causing so much of trouble in our society, that we are not, in most cases, able to treat each other in loving relationship. Although we hear this philosophy, we see what has been happening to people who hurt other people. Pashyana pina pashyati. We see and we hear, yet it's so difficult for us to be able to put it into practice. And according to Arjuna's question to Krishna, so why is it that I am acting sometimes against my better judgment? And what was Krishna's response? Kama esha kroda esha rajaguna tamobaba mahasano mahapapma vidyanam ihabarina. That endemic lust propels us, forces us to act sometimes against our better judgment. And even when we hurt someone, it's so difficult for us to tell the person, I am sorry. I mean, you're like most parents. They think that they are the authority, whatever they do to their children is all right, they can, But when the child is hurt, justifiably hurt, even the parent should be in a position to beg for forgiveness. And these are the basic things that we are taught in our spiritual development, a sense of understanding, a sense of belonging, and a sense of loving relationship, a loving rapport with other people. When we understand that we are all part and parcel of Krishna, it becomes easy to treat other people like your beloved younger brother or younger sister. So we have to grow. The point is, in America, they said you have to grow. It means you have to transcend your status. You have to go beyond that status because it's not favorable to the evolution or to the development of everyone around you. And those around us, we should see them as part of our team. And the team members to manage a team. Now, the point also is that we should cultivate a sense of self-management and self-leadership. When we become situated in self-management and self-leadership, we will be making good efforts in managing others and leading others. So that the problem is, since time immemorial, the conditioned soul has been in a mode of, a little bit of phenomenological mindset, trying to see that some of us, we are happy seeing that someone feels hurt or we hurt somebody. We feel happy by that. But that should not be the mood in our devotional community. We should see each and every one around us as part and parcel of Krishna. And if someone is happy with our attitude, with the way we help them, Krishna automatically becomes happy with us. So it's so easy to please Krishna. We should work tirelessly hard to be able to see how we are coordinating the services in a very nice and pleasing way, so that the devotees become happy and Krishna and the Guru are also happy.
Thank you,
Does it
Maharaj.
make sense? Does it make sense, Kusha?
Yes, Maharaj. Yes,
All right.
thank you very much. Our next question is from George Amega. George, please.
My hands were all up before now.
George Amega, unmute yourself.
All right, please.
Kavekanapu, unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much, Maharaj. I'm very happy. Anytime I listen to a lecture, I always love your smiling. The way you smile is very enthusing. So Maharaj,
thank you.
I'm a living example of being chastised and you become serious in devotional service. Sometimes maybe some of us need that kind of chastisement for us to become determined and serious in devotional service. I remember when I was small and when I was coming to temple, so I remember that day you chastised me. There was one constructor, somebody who was constructing something, his shoe lost. So, but my shoe looked like that person's shoe. So when that person complained to you now chastised me. The way you chastised me, it made me to cry that day. And since that day, I became very serious. I made a determination that I will become very serious in devotional service. So that is that. So that is one. So my only question now is that in the course of your lecture, Maharaj, you mentioned that when Prabhupada was Grihastha, he went to the temple, and when he was one of the brahmachari was saying that was mentioning about the prediction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Bhakti Thakur, and he was saying that how would possible. And Prabhupada says somebody, if you cannot do it, someone will do it. So now my question is that I remember very clearly when Bhakti Swami Maharaj came to Nigeria, he made a prediction also. I don't know whether it's a prediction or a vision or desire that Krishna consciousness will boom in Nigeria. And he said his pain is that he doesn't know that how many of the people who are struggling to keep it now will be there to enjoy it. So what do you think about this, Maharaj? Chaitanya Prabhu prediction, Bhaktivinoda Thakur prediction, and now a pure devotee of Chaitanya Prabhu, of Prabhupada, making some prediction also. What do you say about this, Maharaj? Please enlighten us.
Okay, thank you very much, Kadrikanapura Prabhu. And I'm sorry for being an offender by chastising you for something in the past.
Today, Maharaj, that's what made me to be in devotion. Because I cried that day that I must become a devotee. If I become a devotee, then
now, everyone does not have that type of strong determination. Everyone does not see positivity in chastisement. There are some people who cannot, who cannot take chastisement. There are some people, even right here in the West, some of the people I've been dealing with, there are some people that you cannot even chastise, because if you chastise, it's like they want to leave. Okay, so it's unfortunate, and chastisement is just a part of growth. But some of us, we don't like it. So I remember one time. I remember when Bhakti Swami was on the planet. He's a good chastiser too. When he was on the planet, and he was emphasizing. I don't know whether some of the leaders they remember this, but each time he came, he was emphasizing. Be innovative, be innovative, be innovative. And, we didn't even understand what he was talking. And then I remember one Sunday he was still emphasizing on this, chastising the leaders, how we are not really moving in a fast way and creating new avenues to be able to reach out to people. So he was chastising us. I remember that time Omkar and myself, we are the ones fanning him. So he was talking, he was talking to us, okay. But when you look inside in the temple room, he couldn't find us in the temple room. And then he said, where are they even? So I raised up my hand and said, we are here. And so, but, we took it as, a chance for growth. So I remember when he kept preaching and then the people don't follow what he was saying, or we didn't understand what he actually meant, it was a lot of disappointment. But the point is that we should take even hard talks as a way of growth. Okay, look at this case of the pandemic. This is a crisis. Some people will grow with this crisis. And I can tell you, I have grown in this crisis in my own field of preaching. Look, I've been here since March. I've been in Vrindavan since March. Now, we got locked down. I couldn't go back to America. And what do? I started developing two research projects. One of them is de-escalation strategies for COVID-19 financial fraud. The other one is understanding the value of sonic therapeutic intervention in preventing financial fraud. Now, this later research, understanding sonic therapeutic intervention in preventing financial fraud. Now, sonic therapeutic intervention, I mentioned this before. I mean chanting, okay? Now, after after going through with those type of hard, difficult research projects, this very later research is been accepted by the World Academy of Science, Engineering, and Technology for a presentation in London next year.
Haribo.
So I couldn't have just sat down here and be lamenting and saying, oh, look, I need to go back to America. I need to go back to America. I need to go back. So I used the period. I used the period to be able to do something productive. So it's a hard time. Chastisement is also like that. When we get chastised, we should, like, Kavi Kanapura already mentioned, we should see it as a way forward for my growth. But frankly speaking, a number of people are not like that. A number of people cannot bear chastisement. And so the bottom line is that we have to be able to understand the mode or the mood of different people around us, and those who will grow with a particular type of, ideology, a particular type of encouragement. We should see this is the perfection of leadership. That a leader knows what to do to a particular person, to a particular individual in his group or our group to encourage that person to grow. Because you can't use the same methodology, we can't use the same strategy on everybody. Just like our faces are not the same, our priority sequence also varies. We have different ways of thinking, different ways of doing things, different ways of feeling. Our emotions are different. And so it's a big thing, but this is the fundamental principle in leadership, that you understand the people around you. It's called emotional intelligence. You have to be aware of the emotions, the abilities, capabilities of people around you, what they can take and what they cannot take, and then you treat them accordingly. When we are not taught these things, and basically these are psychological principles that are applicable in leadership theories and leadership practice that have made great leaders who they are today. So it is not so easy to be a leader in especially a spiritual organization as like ours. In our moment, everybody seems to know too much. And so it's very difficult to deal with. And so it's very difficult to deal with people who know too much, There will always be some fracas. But we have to be on the lenient scale to be able to see each and everyone around us as our beloved brother or sister, and then individually see how best to encourage those persons around you. Otherwise, we may just decide that, all right, we'll just keep quiet, let everything go in places. That is not how to manage an organization. We have to be able to motivate and inspire the people around us. And so that comes in different ways when we understand the modus operandi, or the way some people, the people operate, individuals operate, and the way individuals behave, their ways or manners of, going about their daily activities. Then we will be in a position to understand them and be in a position to be able to help them too.
Yes, Maharaj. Maharaj, the second part of my question.
What's the second part?
About the prediction of Bhakti Swami Maharaj.
Oh, the prediction. I bet Africa is already booming. Now you have, now you have three second generation gurus in just West Africa alone. We have Bhakti Damodar Swami, we have Srivas Acharya, we have Bhakti Charodeshna. We don't find that so much in other regions. So it's already booming, and it will go on booming. But then the concern of the pure devotee is how many of you are struggling so hard to build this preaching up? How many of you will be there? But that concern was very valid. A number of people that I know that we joined, took initiation at the same time, A number of them are not there. A number of them. So it was a valued concern. And so we should see that we are being affectionately disposed towards each other in a brotherly and a sisterly way. Because if we live together like a family, like brothers and sisters, then if even someone has some shortcoming, we will be able to think of how best to help that person in a loving way. We don't carry that person into the street. We don't go and talk to this person. We go instead of getting to speak to the person directly, or getting someone who is close to him to speak to him about what you feel or what he has done to you or whatever. Yeah, so leadership is not an easy job. It's not an easy job at all.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank
Our
you.
next question is from Opala Prabhu. Opala, please unmute yourself.
All right. Can you hear me?
It's breaking off.
Okay. Okay, I'll come back.
It's breaking off. I can't hear you right now.
We'll take someone else. Sukadev Goswami, please unmute yourself. Sukadev.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept
Hare
my
Krishna.
presence. Thank you very much for the wonderful class. Maharaj, I have two questions. My first question is in regards to, you said we should all be very grateful to Srila Prabhupada, because Srila Prabhupada has given us, he has created our fortune by giving Krishna consciousness to us. So in the process whereby a lot of us we come to Krishna consciousness, there is this tendency whereby after staying for a while, we are very much enthused. Yeah, Krishna, we're very much enthused. But then after a while, we become very, very complacent. Now, the attitude, the way to give gratitude becomes lesser and lesser. So how do we rectify this so that we remain always high? Like we keep the same enthusiasm that we brought into Krishna consciousness, the same enthusiasm that when we got the book or when we hear about Srila Prabhupada, we maintain it and not go down. This is my first question, Maharaj.
Okay, let me deal with that first question. Sukadev, are you still in Mauritius?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay. Your mom is my good friend, Give my regards to her when you speak with her. So yeah, your concern is about sustainable enthusiasm in Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Maharaj.
And keep in mind that we have all come from different backgrounds, carrying different type of energies, different type of devotional piety from previous life. So based on our devotional piety from previous life, we have a very high, so based on our past,
Okay, it's general.
based on our past existence, we have carried some type of credit, spiritual credit. And so that credit keeps us highly motivated in the beginning when we come to Krishna consciousness. Now, as we use up that credit to some degree, we begin to feel some depletion. I mean, it's like you have some money in an account and you keep taking from it, you will be depleting the account. Account will be depleted. And so what you do is to create some reinforcement in terms of your deposit. So when we are feeling depleted, in our enthusiasm, we should do distance. We should find time, take time off to go to the Holy Dam. In fact, going to the Holy Dam is so important. But a number of us, we may work and accumulate money, we don't think about it. It's to be able to reinvigorate our spiritual enthusiasm in devotional service. Because the very theater that we visit helps to transmogrify or to transform us, to purify us. And now, this is not just some devotional philosophy. It is a scientific, a proven fact. And I can give you those data right here. Now, in 1938 and 39, a German psychologist, Professor Lewin, developed the field theory. And in the field theory, it basically implies that the environment impacts on us. So experiments scientifically have been conducted, and it shows that the environment impacts on us. When you come to a place like Vrindavan, the environment, you can feel it. You are chanting, your mood, it completely changed. When you go to the temple, your mood is completely changed. When you have association with very elevated souls, your mood is completely changed. Your enthusiasm becomes increased. When we read Prabhupada's books regularly, we have a motivation to be able to go on. We got inspired to go on with our devotional service because we have read and heard about great souls, what they did to attain success in devotion. So all those factors put together, they help to sustain our devotion. They help to propel us to move forward with enthusiasm. So we have heard we should read every day. Now, how many of us are reading Papa's books every day? Going to the dam, if we don't have the resources to go to the dam, we should visit the temple. In fact, sometimes when we feel so depleted, we should spend a weekend at the temple where we can hear Krishna Katha, every morning and have devotees association. But essentially also, we should think, some of us even have the resources, but going to the dam, it seems it's not part of our schedule or our agenda. But according to the field theory, it is very essential to understand that the dam impacts a positive way to be able to help to sustain our enthusiasm in devotional service. So, visiting the theater, reading the books, taking only prasadam, even biscuits. We should try to avoid even biscuits because the makers of the grain, the energies, goes into the food, and that helps to facilitate our weakness. The mentality of the grain cookers or the grain cooks, the mentality goes into the grains. And when we eat food that is not offered to Krishna, that weakens or deteriorates our condition in terms of our enthusiasm in devotional service. So there are simple things that look like minor issues, but they are important to us. I'm sure the concern for sustainable enthusiasm, that's very valued, that's very great. And what we do need to do is to see how we are integrating these practices in our devotional sadhana. And we'll see that we'll be, and preaching, we should be preaching. If we don't want to be despondent like Vyasadeva did so much of work. He did so much of literary exposition, so much of work, but he was despondent. Why? As now that we reveal, he did not sufficiently glorify Lord Krishna's holy names. So the Lord Krishna's reading about Krishna's pastimes, they give us motivation to be able to sustain our devotional culture, devotional service. So the reading has to be done. Families, they should come together and read every morning. If even you and your wife, you could just sit down and read every morning. Reading together is association. It helps a lot in building our determination to remain fixed in Krishna consciousness. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for asking that very pertinent question.
Thank you very much. My second question, Maharaj, is in regards to relationship with others. You spoke about, as a leader, we should treat everyone that is under us like the people we love the most. But now there is always sometimes in contrast in our activity, sometimes as leader or as a mentor to others, that, for example, I take myself as an example, as a person that is in the family life. The way I behave with people outside, it's so loving, very loving. Everybody likes it. Everybody cares for it. But then inside, my wife is not so happy. Sometimes she's like, why are you behaving? You behave so much happily with everybody outside. You treat everybody nicely outside. You give a lot of attention to everybody outside, but you're not giving attention to me. And even though I try most of the time to see how to balance this, I find myself most of the time limping. Either I'm giving so much attention to my wife or to my family, and the people outside that are like looking up to me, I am neglecting them, or I am giving much attention to the people outside, and the people that are inside are not properly cared for. So how do I balance this, Maharaj?
Okay, a balancing is called work-life balance. The people you're dealing with outside, that's your job. That's your work, your preaching work. And then your family, that's your life. So it's called integration. In calculus itself is very difficult. But in calculus, there's a difficult section of calculus called integration. When it comes to integration, even some of the calculus students, they leave the class because it's so abstract. So integrating our work and life is very challenging, but we have to practice it. We have to have a timetable. And keep in mind, if you have a family, you have children, you can't say you work so hard that you don't have sufficient time to give to your family. Because a wife doesn't only need your billions of dollars, she needs your quality time. And so if you $1 billion every day and you don't give your family quality time, and this is general counseling I give to people when they meet me, and especially when they begin to groom children. And I tell them, look, you can't profess to work so hard and you don't have quality time to give to your child. You can't say you're so busy. Even if you say you're so busy serving Krishna as a pujari, and then you don't have the time for your family. No. Prabhupada said, the culture is that we should cultivate our children. We should take care of our children because they are Krishna's children. And you want to be happy, you have to try to see that your family is happy. Because if they're not happy, you're not going to have that sustained energy to be able to help people outside. If they are devotees, if they are not devotees, that's a different story. But if they're devotees, you have to work together. You have to see that you are creating an avenue If even it's just 5 minutes, sit with your wife, like in a rapport, and speak to her. A grihastha should not act as if it's a paramahamsa. You have to give quality time to your family. You have to give quality time to your wife. If your wife is not happy and you have a baby, your baby is not going to be happy. And if your baby and your wife are not happy, you cannot be happy. So I think that, sometimes I remember I was mentioning this thing in one temple I went to, and then somebody came to me, can you give a seminar? Can you give a seminar on this? Yeah, this is something also lacking, because in most places we don't have professionals in the areas of the decision sciences who can help us to grow. Yeah. So we need to understand that the family is there, and our preaching engagements are also there. We have to create a balance. The balance comes by working out the details on how much time you have to give to your family, and how much time you should be given to your work. Ordinarily speaking, in America, people work for 8 hours in a day. So out of 8 hours, you have like 14 hours. Maybe you sleep 6 hours. And then you have, a bunch of like 8 hours left. We have the time. We don't ration the time properly to be able to take care of our families in a loving way. See, I give you this formula. Call your wife when she's happy, sit down with her and ask her, my beloved wife, tell me the things I am doing in this family that you don't feel so comfortable, that you want me to change to be able to create a better, loving family. Women are very sensitive. If your attention is so much divided between her and your family and your parents. Suppose your parents come to live with you even in the same house, you run into problem. Some of us, we don't know the psychology of women. We marry, we get matured, we have some money, we have some resources, and we say, yeah, I'm a grown-up guy and I need to marry. But you don't know anything about women. Nothing, And so, yeah, you're not alone, okay? I've seen so many cases like that all over the world. So, yeah, be comported. But, when you have a problem and then when you share it, that's a lot of courage in sharing such a problem in the open. And other people who are having similar challenges, they will learn from the response. My point is that it's not always easy to do integration. Integration is very difficult. You're not alone, but see how you manage. Listen. Can you listen?
Yes,
The watchword is effective time management. Effective time management. You have the time, that you have not effectively managed your time to be able to focus on giving quality time to your family, and at the same time giving quality time to your work. All right, so any other points or questions?
Thank you, Maharaj. We have one last question. Maybe George Amega can ask now, if she's ready.
Good,
George
sir.
Amega. Okay, Upala is ready. Okay, Upala, please go on.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Upala, please go on.
Who is on? I'm seeing George.
Yeah,
okay, Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Upala ji. Upala is my original guru. I served Upala in his temple,
Maharaj, please allow me to Thank you very much, Maharaj. We're happy to see you.
I need to acknowledge your greatness, how you are part of the transformation that I need to pass through. You're great.
Maharaj,
yes, ask a question.
You have always been my master from the beginning. So, Maharaj, nice to see you. Maharaj, before I ask my question, I have some wonderful Bhaktas here that would like to say Hare Krishna to you. They are the Suklam Juniors. They say to say hello to you. Suklam's children. Are you hearing me,
really?
Maharaj?
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is Gura Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. And this is Ram. Sorry, your name.
Hare Krishna Maharaj is Ramananda Rai.
That's
Hare Krishna.
Ramananda Rai.
Hare
Ramananda
Krishna.
Rai. They are one friend, and they're actually inspiring me to do devotional service. So
Okay.
they're very wonderful. So please, your blessings to them. Okay.
I pray to Krishna and Guru for the best blessings on these wonderful children.
Okay, Maharaj. So, Maharaj, my first question is: you recited Prabhupada's poem. You cited Prabhupada's poem when he said that without pleasing Radharani, we cannot get Krishna. Then also you recited another verse which said Yasya Prasad, Bhagavan Prasad. Now, without the mercy of the Guru, you cannot, please Krishna also, you cannot get Krishna. So my question now is, there seems to be a question of choice here. Or is it
okay.
But how do we go about which person now should we please? The Guru,
Please Guru. Please Guru. Guru is there with you. Please Guru.
Okay. Then the second question is,
because please Guru is the bona fide representative of Radharani. Radharani is the mother of devotion. Guru is teaching you devotion.
Okay, Maharaj. Then my second question is, you made mention how during at the peak of winter, devotees go out to preach. They go out to preach. So, but in recent times, Maharaj, luckily you were guiding us. We were preaching. You know how we were preaching in the past, how we were distributing books. Maharaj, but the enthusiasm is no longer there. Even in me, I'm only now doing it almost in my mind, desiring I want to pray, but that enthusiasm, the courage is not there, Maharaj. What shall we do? Especially me, personally, myself.
You need to see that you need to reignite the enthusiasm by associating with formidable preachers. By associating with formidable preachers, then you get enthused again to go into the streets to distribute books, go into the Upa, there is still so much you can do. I have, one of my recent publications that is focused on the Nigerian oil sector. I'll send it to you. I want you to send it to some of these professors because that is very good for these professors. In universities, the professors you're connected with. And also, I want you to send that to, our Christian nun in Enugu before, what's her name? Can't remember. You should send that to her also. Remember?
Mother Chandrika.
Yeah. So the point is that we need motivation. We need people who are like crazy preachers, and then we want to also become like them, crazy.
You are right, Maharaj.
That's how it works.
I'm afraid I'm not seeing those crazy preachers now. No.
When
we get one, Maharaj.
If you're not seeing it, you'll be warned.
No, my enthusiasm is down. I want to be revived.
Upala Prabhu, now you are associating with Maharaj. Maharaj is trying to engage you, so you are already meeting a formidable preacher, Prabhu.
Yeah, Opal, I'll send you. I'll send you that document, and then you forward it. There's no complaint. There's no complaint about that. You see, the point is there is so much going on. See, I'm not there in Africa, but like in 2018, I have four or three publications in the Journal of Financial Crime in London, a peer-reviewed journal, but they were all research that was focused on Nigeria. I go to places. They don't say that I'm an American or I'm a Nigerian American. They said, oh, he's from Nigeria. So, although physically I'm not there, but then the presence, the idea of the African idea is being felt. Each place that we go to, the African idea, African roadmap is being felt by the audience. So, yeah, we should go back to the beginning and try to see how we are incorporating, again, reintegrating enthusiasm by having, association with enthusiastic preachers, especially in the field that you love the most, right? Or where you have a soft spot. Thank you very much, Opalogy, and everyone else. Is there any other questions? Any other persons of in the absence of any other questions, we would like to pray for the adjournment of this meeting.
Please
again, I would like to apologize. I am on a very tight track, and that's why I'm not being available. I mean, as expected. Like, I have a conference coming up on the 27th. And it's not like Bhagavatam class. We are just going to go and then, start giving research work that I'm supposed to do. But this is what is allowing us to be able to penetrate, arenas that, ordinarily speaking, one is not able to. So please, give me the benefit of the doubt. When things come to normalcy, then I should be able to, perhaps, be present with you for more, to take more of your association here. It's so easy now to take association from you guys because, come to the net and that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Maharaj, because now we are very, very expensive. Please, we ask everybody to unmute yourself. Let's chant Hare Krishna to Maharaj for coming. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you.
Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama.